that. Somebody else might be looking at leaving a situation, but knowing that they need to plan it safely. So they might come in and talk to Donna. Donna, who's a legal advocate, might want to come in and talk to one of our counselors and make a plan. And every time we talk to a victim, we safety plan. That's of utmost importance. So
I guess we should also say that if somebody calls and it's something that's very serious and very recent, I guess the advice would be call the police, call 911. Right? I mean,
if there's something active going on, yes.
Of course.
If it's you know a serious situation, a dangerous situation, certainly police involvement would be might be necessary. But if not, you know, we're a good place to call, because basically what we do, and again what Donna does, what our counselors do, is lay out the options. So if someone is coming into counseling, or if someone calls the hotline, or if someone you know is just thinking of leaving, we kind of play out all the scenarios. Well, what would happen if you did this? Well, what would happen if you did that? How do you think, you know, your husband or your partner will react? How do you, you know, what will happen with your children? This is what the reality is at the shelter. Do you have anywhere else to go to? So, so it's kind of more planned out that way. It's not somebody running out of the house in the middle of the night.
Now, Donna, you're the legal advocate,
Yes.
right? That's where you step in.
Yes.
What's the types of advice that you would give people calling in?
Well, we don't give advice because we're not attorneys. What our function is to really tell a victim what their options are under the New Jersey Prevention of Domestic Violence Act, as well as procedural information. And an important function is also to refer for legal advice. And that could be to private attorneys, it could be to legal services of New Jersey. And it's really about laying out options for the victim to empower them to make good decisions. So when a victim comes through the door, they're not always wanting law enforcement involvement for many different reasons. It could be fear. That's
Right.
a major reason. Sometimes it's fear of the abuser being arrested and not being able to work. So there's many different reasons why somebody might not want to go
Privacy,
to the police.
embarrassment.
Exactly.
In my
Lot of
own
time.
law practice, I'm amazed that people don't come forward because they're embarrassed.
Exactly.
But even when they're being threatened and harmed and everything else, they're embarrassed to come forward.
Sure.
Not good.
Yeah, sadly, it's, you know, there's still a lot of shame involved in it, even
Yeah.
though it's become an issue that's talked about, you know, out there in the media and on you know, daytime talk shows much more frequently now. But there's still a lot of shame involved.
Now, somebody calls in, and they don't need police right away, and they may not even need the shelter right away, but you have other services that you offer, right? Can you describe
Right.
some of
In
those?
Newton is our what we call our community outreach office, and we have legal advocates, counselors, and as I said, the hotline. We can get any information from our hotline. Everybody is educated and has most of the general information. When you need specifics, you know, to the legal procedures, then you'd go to a legal advocate. If you perhaps want to work more on the emotional issues, or, you know, work on your plan on leaving a relationship, you might see a counselor.
Yeah, and so is it individual counseling, or are there groups?
We have both.
Both. I mean, frequently I refer people to DASI, so they can learn more about domestic violence and find out what their options are.
So much of what we do is education, and so much of what we do is, you know, reframing what's going on to show a victim how, you know, she's actually perhaps been very strong and been very protective perhaps of her children. Sometimes they come in and they just really feel like nothing. And so we'll really talk about how they've been able to survive and what they've done to stay safe. You know, that's the counseling piece.
Let me go back to the shelter again. What are the rules regarding the shelter? I mean, I'm sure you have rules, how long you can stay there, can you bring your kids, for how long? What's the monetary aspect of that, if there is any?
There's no monetary aspect.
Okay.
It's completely free of charge. As I said, it's in a confidential location, and but it is community living. So you may be sharing a bedroom if you come. Sometimes not, but in Sussex County, that's how we have to do it. It is community living in that there's cooking and cleaning, and people just kind of live together
Right.
and make that work. And in terms of guidelines, there's not a lot, but you know, certainly no alcohol, certainly no violence, certainly no violent toys for kids. Otherwise, you know, maybe there's a curfew because we do put a high security on.
If a person is working, are there daycare provisions?
No, we don't have to.
All right, so they have to like either stop working and watch their kids, right?
Yeah, usually we'll work with them to find daycare.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not good to stop working.
How long can they stay there?
Anywhere from a month to 2 months usually.
Mm-hmm.
But the stays vary, you know, from sometimes a weekend, somebody who just is feeling very unsafe because maybe a restraining order is going to be served. So somebody might just come in for that amount of time, you know, or somebody might stay the whole 2 months.
And when people are in the shelter, I presume at that point things are so bad that they really do need the legal advocate to step in and assist at that point, right?
Usually.
Depending on where they're at, you know, if somebody has children, there's often a custody issue. You know, if you remove children from a home without a court order, that's often an issue. So what we'll do is encourage the victim to reach out to legal services or private attorneys for a consultation to get advice on what they could do if they don't have a restraining order. Now, with a restraining order, they would have the custody, but that's not always the case. But often we'll do a legal option session, which is sitting with them, talking to them about restraining orders, how they work, see if that's an option for them, and explaining other legal options as far as legal clinics, consultation, pro se things they could do through the court in terms of filing for custody or in order to show cause if that's appropriate. But because we're not attorneys, we're limited to how far we could take that with them. But it is important information so they can make good decisions.
Now, you have a presence in the courtrooms as well, right? Could you describe what that is?
Yes, the legal advocacy program is present at the final hearings on Thursdays. So if somebody gets a temporary restraining order, they go to court approximately 10 days later to make it either a final order or to decide to dismiss it, or sometimes they'll work out another agreement and dismiss the restraining order. So we're at court to reach out to pro ses. We meet with everybody who dismisses the restraining order. The court requires that so that they get the educational information and the safety planning, and also to let them know how to get another restraining order if they need it. And we're there for support for the victims. We often have a lot of pro se victims who are going to final hearing that will prep on court procedures, talk to them about how the court case is going to flow, and it actually is helpful for the judges so that the cases move along a little smoother.
I imagine there's a lot of victims of domestic violence that are in the court on that day who are confused.
Absolutely.
They don't know, they have a relationship that they want to, they maybe want to salvage their relationship, yet they don't want to be put in an abusive situation. Maybe there's children involved, and they just don't know what to do, right? And that's where you come in.
Exactly, and the court will often suggest to a confused plaintiff at the calendar call, you know, you might want to speak to a DASI representative to figure out what your options are. The people in court vary. It could be somebody totally distraught and really low functioning to somebody who is amazing and is able to run their whole case and do what they have to do. People who have been through it before obviously are more experienced, but that's true. There are a lot of people who are confused, and it's a difficult situation. They do love and care about the other person, so you know, that's something that we're sensitive to and understand that, you know, it's a human being, it's not a monster, and this is somebody that they share a life with, have children together with. So it's important to be sensitive to those issues as well.
All right, so we've talked about the hotline and some of the group and individual counseling that's available. We've talked about the shelter and your court presence. Now I know DASI has a lot of other programs. All right, which one do you want to talk about first?
Let's see. The transitional housing program, I should probably mention, which is relatively new. We've had it open for about a year now, and that is 6 apartments. We were able to purchase the building with state funds.